Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to my teacher Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. Venerable Bhantes in the monastery and dear Kalyanamitas. I have something from the Buddha to share. So the things that you learn today could be sometimes new, but this is not a new lesson. This is not a new lesson at all. There was a Brahmin in Rajagaha. Rajagaha is a city in India. That was Brahmin, you know, the Brahmin thought that they are the highest people in the society, in the caste system. Brahmins, they practice the Vedas, the religion, and they have four castes. Brahmin, Kshatriyas, the king's family, Vaishyas, the traders, and Shuddhas. Shuddhas are the lowest, the outcast. So this Brahmin was called Upasalhaka, his name. Upasalhaka wanted to die and wanted to be buried in a spot that no one has been buried before, because he wanted to have a spot which is not buried as outcasts. That was his, maybe the conceit, maybe his arrogance or something. So he asked his son, my son, find me a good place for me, for my dead body to bury. So he was like wondering, the son was thinking, oh, how can I find a place on this earth, on this planet Earth? No one is buried before. So he said to his son, Upasalika, my son, we will go. In the Vulture's Peak, we have a very steep mountain, and that steep mountain, very sharp. We can find a spot for me, for my grave. So they went and they selected a good place. Buddha, living in the monastery, so these two people are finding a spot for this Brahmin, for the grave pit. The Buddha know that these two people are so wise. They have the ripened karmic, the fruits, and then they can understand this Dhamma if the Buddha talks. But their knowledge and wisdom were covered with this conceit, covered with this arrogance, covered with this casteism and things. And Buddha went there. He questioned the Brahmin and said, dear Brahmin, what are you doing here? He said, oh, Venerable Sir, I am finding a spot for me, for my graveyard. The Buddha said, why are you selecting this spot? Bhante, I needed a spot that no one is buried. No one has been buried before, because this country is filled with outcasts, the Shudras. This could be a pure, genuine, and clean, clear spot for me, for my dead body. The Buddha said, dear Upasalhaka, if you do not know, I know that in the same name, Upasalhaka, in the same name, you have been buried 14,000 times on this spot, on this very spot. How many times? 14,000 times. He was like, what? So the Buddha said, dear Upasalhaka, on this earth, you cannot find any place that you have, that no one is buried. This is the cycle of rebirths, the Buddha said. This cycle of rebirth is endless. In the same name, you have been buried 14,000 times. So he shared some Dhamma, and the son and Upasalaka the Brahmin, both people understood this Dhamma. They became stream entrants, and they did not want any place to be buried again. Buddha said, dear Upasalaka, if you want to be buried in a spot no one is dead, no one is buried before, develop your mindfulness. Then you will not find any death in this repeated cycle of birth and death. And then you will not be buried anywhere. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. What did you learn from this story? This cycle of rebirth is endless. This cycle of rebirth has no any beginning point. Cycle of rebirth is a very deep dharma in the Buddha's dispensation, in the Buddha's Dhamma. Buddha said, we have this journey of rebirths, life after life after life. We come and we go. According to the karma, this happens. According to our own karma, we come here, we live here, and we leave to a different place. The decision maker of our next place is not someone else. That is the decision maker of our own karma. Our own karma selects our next place. It could be a better place if we have good karma. If we have a more fortunate place, if we have more fortunate good karma here in this life. If we do not have good karma, no one is here to give us a good place. If we have more good karma, they will give us everything we need. What is everything? All the things that we need to survive this life. All the things that we want to develop our mind. All the things that we can develop this mindfulness. All the things that we can understand the nature of this life. And everything that will help us to be free from all the sufferings, to stop this cycle of rebirth. The good karma gives us. And we have something more to come to this very lesson again. I share this with you. This comes from the Teri Gatha. This is the verses of Arahatnan Ubbiri.
The Buddha, in the forest you buried, you are sobbing and calling out, "Oh, my daughter, Jiva." Did you know that 84,000 people were burnt in this cemetery, all whose name was Jiva? Which of them do you grieve for? When I heard this, I plucked out the dart of sorrow I had for my daughter. It was hard to see while it was stuck in my heart. Today I live with the dart plucked out and with craving abandoned. My mind is fully quenched. I took the Supreme Buddha, Supreme Dhamma, and Supreme Sangha as my refuge. These verses were said by the Arahanta Ubiri.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The same thing. The Ubiri was a very good woman, but she didn't know any Dhamma. And she was crying in the cemetery for her daughter Jiva. Her name was Jiva. And the Buddha knew this Ubiri was very fortunate. She had lots of powerful good merit. And Buddha, with his psychic powers, talked to this lady, the woman Ubiri, and said, "Why are you crying here? What's the reason?" And then she said, "I'm crying for my daughter, my dead daughter, Jiva." Then the Buddha said, "Did you know that 84,000 people were burned in this cemetery, all whose name was Jiva? Which of them do you grieve for?" What? Did you know that these all 84,000 people were the same person, Jiva, same mother Ubiri? She cried 84,000 times for this daughter. She was Jiva. Which one? For which one are you crying right now, today? That was eye-opening to Ubiri. She said, "I don't want to cry anymore. I go to the Buddha for my refuge." Buddha preached Dhamma. She wanted to become a nun. She became Arahant, enlightened. This was very eye-opening. Why? We don't know that we cry, we meet people die, they say goodbye or maybe not. We don't know. No one is here to tell us, this is your second time you're crying for this. This is your 1,000th time you're crying for this. We don't have the Buddha to say this, but we do. So how can we understand this? When we read the Dhamma, we see something is happening that we never understand. We never know. That's not our knowledge. But if we have that eye of Shraddha, Shraddha is the faith in the teachings, we can see, oh yes, this is not the first time I'm crying. This is not the first time I meet these people. This is not the first time I die. This is the nature of samsara. Because the Buddha said, samsara is without discoverable beginning.
This is how I heard. At one time, the Blessed One was living in the city of Savatthi in Jeta's park at Anathapindika's monastery. A certain monk approached the Blessed One, worshipped him respectfully, and sat down to one side. He asked the Blessed One, "Bhante, how long is an eon?" "An eon is long, monks. It is not easy to count and say that it is so many years, so many hundreds of years, so many thousands of years, or so many hundreds of thousands of years." "Then, Bhante, is it possible to give a simile to know the length of an eon?" "It is possible, monks," the Blessed One said. "Suppose, monks, there was a city with iron walls 10 kilometers long, 10 kilometers wide, and 10 kilometers high, filled with mustard seeds. At the end of every 100 years, a person would take away one mustard seed from there. As a result of this, the great heap of mustard seeds might be soon taken away, but the eon wouldn't have still come to an end. So long is an eon, monks. It is not just one eon that has passed by, not hundreds of eons, not thousands of eons, and not hundreds of thousands of eons. What is the reason for that? It is because, monks, this cycle of rebirth is endless. The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life and bound by craving, roam and wander on in this endless journey. For such a long time, monks, you have experienced various types of suffering, tragedies, and disasters. You have filled the cemetery with your dead bodies. Therefore, monks, the time has come for you to understand the meaningless nature of all conditioned things. The time has come for you to become detached from them, and the time has come for you to be liberated from them.
I want you to pay your very close attention to this discourse. Mustard seeds from Anamatagga Saṁyutta. Without discoverable beginning, Sasapa is mustard. See, this wonderful discourse is very clear. The beginning is beautiful, the body is beautiful, the ending is beautiful, clear like crystal. And Buddha gave everything what you want, what you do not know. A certain monk came to the Buddha and asked such a beautiful question. Bhante, how long is an eon? It is not easy to count and say that it is so many years, so many hundreds, so many thousands, so many hundred thousands of years. Bhante, give me a simile. Suppose, monks, there was a city with iron walls 10 kilometers long, 10 kilometers wide, 10 kilometers high. I don't think that a plane can fly like this. 10 kilometers high, such a huge area, 10 kilometers long, wide, and high. It's such a huge box, the city, the walls, and you fill with this. The mustard seeds are very little, teeny tiny. You never count. At the end of every 100 years, a person would take away one mustard seed from there. Only one. After a century. To take the second mustard seed, you need another 100 years. 1 century. For a century, you would take only one. For one seed, you need a century. How much do you want, like, to get about a handful of mustard seeds? Keep it away. A spoonful of tablespoonful, a teaspoon. How much years do you want? You never count. As a result of this, the great heap of mustard seeds might be soon taken away. That doesn't mean that you take it very quickly. No, you need 100 years for one seed. But in this method, the time goes very quickly. You take all the mustard seeds from this 10 kilometers high, wide, and long box. You get all. But the eon wouldn't have still come to an end. That is not the time period of an eon. More than that, you need to count. If you want to count the number of years in an eon, that's not something serious. This is serious. This is about you. This is about me. How many eons that we have come through this journey of samsara? It is countless. No one can count. The starting point. So why? So I'm not amazed about this actually. I'm not amazed about this information, but I'm really amazed by the wisdom of the Buddha to see this. See the wisdom of the Buddha, so deep and wide. To see that he knew that you and me came on a journey like this. He knew. The length of this journey is not something to be amazed. The wisdom and the knowledge of the Buddha, that is something that you can be amazed. What is the reason for that? Monks, this cycle of rebirth is endless. When did we start? No one can see. We do not remember. Even we do not remember the things happened yesterday. Is that true? If I ask you, what did you eat for breakfast today? Do you remember? Okay, keep it away. What did you eat for breakfast yesterday? Do you remember? You don't. You might. But what did you eat last week for last Sunday for lunch? It's something like beyond our memory. So how can we remember our previous life? The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. Is that something that we want to learn? Of course we should. We can stop crying if we know the reality of this life from the wisdom of the Buddha. All the time we cry, we have hopes, we have expectations, we have targets, we are stressed out. We cry for something that we lost. We cry for some peace or happiness or something. We cry when we get old. We cry when we get sick. We panic. We are so scared. This is not the only time we did this. This is not the only time we experience this. Think about Ubiri. Think about Upasalhaka, the Brahmin. Why? These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life, we didn't understand the reality. That's why we have this journey, karmic journey. Lack of knowledge, ignorance, bound by craving, hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving. These are the two reasons. Ignorance and craving. These two things make this journey. And we roam and wander on this endless journey. For such a long time, monks, you have experienced various types of suffering. Various, like wars, pandemics, earthquakes, maybe cancer, maybe accidents, maybe whatever, tragedies, disasters, natural disasters. You have done only one thing. Only one thing. What is the only thing you did? When you were coming, this is the only thing that we have done. Nothing else. We might be like graduated from college, but we did this. We have been kings maybe sometimes. Of course, yes. Kings for the entire earth as monarch, but we did this. We put our dead body to fill this earth as the cemetery. How many times? 1,000, million, countless times. And this is the serious and very eye-opening advice of the Buddha. This is the time that you hear, that you know about the true nature of this journey. You know the true nature of this journey now. Everything conditioned is subject to change, subject to vanish, subject to destruction, meaningless. What's the meaning of this? This is meaningless. Meaningless of all conditioned things. Understand? We are experiencing the same thing in this life without understanding but crying. Time has come for you to become detached from them. Detached from what? All conditioned things. Conditioned things means everything. How do we do this? Being angry? No. Understanding the reality. How? The I is impermanent, subject to change. Not me, not mine, not myself. You're not getting angry, but you understand the nature. And you let go the desire. When you do these two things, the time has come for you to be liberated from them. You can be liberated. This is the Sāsapa Sutta. Pay very close attention to this sutta. All right. Happy person from the same Anamatagga Saṁyutta.
This is what I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was living in the city of Savatthi in Jeta's Park at Anamatagga's monastery. The Blessed One addressed the monks, saying, "O monks." "Bhante," those monks replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, this cycle of rebirth is endless. The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life and bound by craving, roam and wander on in this endless journey. Monks, whenever you see anyone beautiful, very rich and happy, you can conclude, we too have enjoyed comforts in the exact same way, many times in this long journey. What is the reason for that? It is because, monks, this journey of rebirth is endless. The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life and bound by craving, roam and wander on in this endless journey. For such a long time, monks, you have experienced various types of suffering, tragedies, and disasters. You have filled the cemeteries with your dead bodies. Therefore, monks, the time has come for you to understand the meaningless nature of all conditioned things. The time has come for you to become detached from them, and the time has come for you to be liberated from them.
See how powerful this message is. This is the key for the true happiness. Understanding the true nature of this world, thinking, seeing this world.
This is how I heard. At one time, the Blessed One was living in the city of Savatthi in Jeta's Park at Anamatagga monastery. The Blessed One addressed the monks, saying, "O monks, Bhante," those monks replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, this cycle of rebirth is endless. The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life and bound by craving, roam and wander on in this endless journey. Monks, Whenever you see anyone ugly, very poor, and depressed, you can conclude we too have suffered in the exact same way many times in this long journey. What is the reason for that? It is because, monks, the cycle of rebirth is endless. The beginning of this extremely long journey cannot be discovered. These beings, hindered by lack of knowledge of the true nature of life and bound by craving, roam and wander on in this endless journey. For such a long time, monks, you have experienced various types of suffering, tragedies, and disasters. You have filled the cemetery with your dead bodies. Therefore, monks, the time has come for you to understand the meaningless nature of all conditioned things. The time has come for you to become detached from them, and the time has come for you to be liberated from them.
Pay very close attention to this. So when we see people who suffer, maybe currently in war countries, maybe sometimes the earthquakes and things, okay, we see people die. There is a very powerful message from the Buddha for you to know, to reflect the meaning. So we might say that we are safe, that they have so many bad karmas. That's why they are suffering. But we should not think this way. We should think this is the nature of this samsara. This is the nature of this journey. We do not have anything like rather than this to experience in the journey of samsara. Sometimes we think that, oh, I'm so depressed. The people did this kind of a bad thing to me. So I'm losing things. I don't have money. I'm poor. I'm so sick. Why do I have this kind of a sickness at this early age of my life? Sometimes we think. We should not think this way. We should understand the nature. And if we understand the nature, how? This is not the only time. All conditioned things are subject to change. All conditioned things are not to be attached, but to understand, to realize the true nature of this life. It's just the way that we can be liberated without attaching, but detaching. This is the Dhamma. This is something very important that we want to reflect on. Even the happy feeling, Buddha said, is suffering. Why? It is subject to change. Buddha asked, if something is impermanent, is it happy or suffering? Happy or painful? Is this I permanent or impermanent? The monk said, Bhante, this I is impermanent. If it is impermanent, is it happy or painful? Happy or suffering? Definitely it's suffering. If it is suffering, is it good to say that this is mine? No, Bhante. So, if it is suffering, do not get it as it is mine, it is me, or it is myself. Reflect the things in this way, not me, not mine, not myself. Then you will be freed from suffering. You will be freed from the I. You will be freed from the things. You will be freed from suffering. That's what the Buddha said. All conditioned things are subject to change and impermanent. It's the message.
Okay.
So once, if you remember the Buddha said, even the Dharma is not to be attached. But not now. Not now. You should be attached to Dharma right now if you want to practice. It is like the raft. Raft is the tool you use to cross over the river. When you cross over the river with the help of this raft, you do not keep the raft on your shoulder on the journey. You just leave it on the shore and you go. Likewise, when you reach the far shore is the Nibbana. You leave the raft on the shore and you go. You're liberated. Until then, you need that raft. You need that help of the raft. You need that boat. You need that tool to cross over. You want to protect it. You want to maintain this. You want to get the help from this raft. Unless you are not able to cross over this, the stream of samsara, the stream of this journey of life. So when you reach the far shore, the next shore, you do not need that raft anymore. That's what the Buddha said. Such a beautiful thing, huh? You want to be attached to Dharma. You want to have a very loving feelings, respect to the Dharma if you want to practice. That is the only thing that you want to pay your close attention. Everything is subject to change. So we should understand that this is not the only time that we experience. So be very happy about this Dhamma and study this Dhamma. Follow this Dhamma if we need the happiness, okay? We never want to be depressed. We never want to be suffered and worried about anything. If we have the Dhamma and the refuge, we have a good path. This is from Anamatagga Saṁyutta. Hope you were happy about these discourses, everybody. We want to be very happy about this clear Dhamma, about this life, about the journey of samsara. Read all the suttas in Anamatagga Saṁyutta. The Buddha said that the tears that you have shed over your mother's death is more than the great oceans. The milk that you have drunk from your own mother in this cycle of journey is more than the great ocean. This is the nature of this samsara. So this is very, very eye-opening. This is the key to come to this Dhamma. Come to this Dhamma and enjoy this Dhamma and get the benefit and be liberated. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.